Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your film.
Thanks for having me.
I will ask a few questions, and then if there's time, I'll open it up to the audience. But I guess I'll start at the beginning. I mean, you touched on the origins of this film in your introduction, but I'm wondering if you could just elaborate on how this personal experience gradually took the shape of a film for you. What needed to happen for it to become a film for you, and I guess maybe more specifically how you found yourself maybe drawn to this parable or kind of fable-like approach that we see in the film.
So the idea of the film is based in a personal experience a bit. So I grew up in a small town in Germany in the 90s, and I felt like growing up in that small town that I couldn't really be myself, or couldn't access parts of myself that I could only access later when I moved to a bigger city to study, and I found parts of myself and accepted parts of myself that I couldn't before. And when I returned to this small town that I grew up in, I always felt like it was a different life that I lived there, and I could never go back to that life. And this is where the idea of the film came from. And I always, very early on in the process of writing the script, I wanted to take my personal experience and make it a universal one. So I very early on I wanted it to be a period piece, and I wanted it to take place on this island because I wanted a place that is kind of otherworldly, that is kind of like out of this world. So it gets this parable-like quality.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you can share more about building this world, because as you say, I mean, this fishing village is on one hand oddly specific. There is a very particular way of dress, and this community has very specific customs, and yet it is outside of a very particular place and time too. And so I guess I'm curious, what materials were you drawing from to define this world, and I guess how did this ambiguity kind of open up the film for you?
So there was a lot of inspiration from. Well, I mean the motive of someone returning, or the lost son returning. It goes back to the Bible, It's like a very old motive, but. Yeah, I was getting inspiration from a lot of places and things that I saw and things that I read. But in general, it was very important for me to. I wanted it to be both. I wanted it to be kind of personal and intimate, and yet I wanted it to have this universal quality. So. Yeah, the place with the island, I already touched on that, but. Also the setting and the set design, it always, while writing the script, already reminded me of a play, and it could be it had this theater-like, play-like quality to it, and so I always saw the courtroom as this amphitheater, where this drama plays out in front of everyone, and so we extended that design to the village, and of course I was very inspired by Dogville, for example, from Lars von Trier, but we wanted it to be our own thing. I wanted to merge this theater stage with the landscape of the island, and it kind of visualizes a lot of the themes of the story. You're always on a stage, you're always performing, but you're also always exposed, for judgment, for looks from the village, and you don't have any place to hide and any place to be yourself.
I'm curious, if you can say more about the fact that you decided to have this story unfold through a kind of trial, a courtroom drama format, because as you said, there is this sort of performance quality to a kind of trial. I guess I'm wondering, was this trial always a fundamental aspect of this story, or were there other ways of kind of revealing this character and how he related to the community?
No, the trial was always there. It was the kind of the core of the story, you know, because it's about him having to prove himself and prove his worth and proving who he is. And I think that's kind of a queer experience as well, you know, that you kind of have to prove your worth to society and yeah, and to be accepted into society by proving your worth.
Since this film is so much about this gap between how one experiences the world internally versus how others are perceiving them through that experience, I'm curious, like, how you communicated this kind of tension with your actors, how you worked with them to figure out their characters and like how they were interacting with each other at any given point in the film.
It was very much a lot of talking and a lot of getting to know each other and a lot of connecting. You know, we did a lot of preparation in just getting to know each other. We had 1 week of rehearsals in a cabin by a lake, which was really nice. But we didn't really rehearse scenes. It was more about really talking about the script and what it means to me and what certain aspects of it mean to me, and a lot about connecting with me, connecting with each other, and I think you can see that on screen, that we all had a very strong connection, and everyone knew how much this story means to me, and so it meant a lot to them as well.
Could you talk a little bit about like your casting process? What were you looking for in each of these characters?
I had amazing casting directors, Lisa Stutzky and Andrea Rodriguez, and they read the script and they believed in the script very much, and the script actually opened a lot of doors for us because a lot of the actors already saw in the script what this could be, and so we were very blessed with the feedback in the casting process. And the first character we cast actually was Friedemann, Philippe Frosson. He came in and he sat down and he played one of the interrogation scenes, and he was Friedemann right away. And then we did a chemistry read with candidates for Hein, and Paul Boche came in, and you already had like this chemistry between them, but also he brought an urgency to Hein that was beautifully for the character. And so the casting process was just one of the milestones with this film, where you could really see it coming to life, but also see, what this can be. And I don't know if you can feel it here, because the language is old, historic German language. You know, it's not like a modern language, and this was tough for some people to portray believably and emotionally, and I think the cast is doing a beautiful job with the language.
I guess on the topic of performance, I also want to connect it back to just what you were saying. I mean, just this aspect of the open, exposed sets, which you mentioned was a concept you had on your mind as early as the script writing phase.
No, actually, that's not true. Actually, in the beginning, I wanted it to be like this complete, believable village, and it was born out of budgetary constraints first. But you know, that's how it is sometimes. But these things can push you to something more and give another quality to the film. And so I went back to think, okay, how can we tell this story with the budget that we have? And so I embraced even more the parable-like quality in the film that I always saw and that I always wanted to have. And that's how we got to the set design that we have.
I wonder if you can just share more, because I'm curious, like, if this was not something that was like initially what you planned, like how it impacted, how it influenced the way you tell this story, because it clearly does. I mean, it clearly impacts the way we move through the space, but also the way characters are also interacting.
Yes, for sure. So I had a lot of things already in my head with the script. Like, I saw some scenes already play out, And then I worked with my set designer. Okay, what do we really need in the sets? For example, the scene when he comes back to his childhood home for the first time, and he walks down the aisle and he looks first to the left to see his mother, and then to the right, and goes back into his memory. I already saw that in my head while writing the script, so it was clear, okay, we need this wall, we need this wall, and so I worked with my set designer, like, what do we really need? And I was always aware that, this kind of set can create a distance with the audience because it's kind of abstract, and so I wanted to counter this this possible distance with other means. For example, the cinematography is a lot of times, except for the drone shots, for the drone top shots, but everything else is like really handheld camera, very close to the characters. We wanted to be really close to Hein and to go through the story with him, and also the costumes were supposed to be really real and believable, so that we can immerse ourselves into the world and into the story, and at the same time have this very unique set design that creates this very unique visuals.
I'll ask a couple more questions, then we can open it up to the audience. But I'm also interested in how in this film characters speak around the truth, and more often than not, revelations kind of occur through tests or games. And I think you play a lot with the latter through the actual game of lies in this film. And I'm just curious, like, when that element kind of found its way into the screenplay.
So Hein needs to find back into this role he played when he was younger. First, he needs to realize that they don't recognize him because when he was younger, he didn't show on the outside what he felt on the inside. He played a role. And so I needed an element in the script that can visualize that I can tell this finding back into the role in a cinematic way. And so I came up with this card game that he needs to learn again, and I think it worked out beautifully. And it's actually a real card game in Germany. I'm not sure if you have it here, but it's something that you
I think
play.
so. I think it has a different name here.
It has another name here. What's the name here?
I think it's called Bullshit.
Yeah. Okay. No, it has different names in Germany as well, depending on the region. But in some regions, it's actually called Lies or Lügen.
Yeah, we're more vulgar here. I guess relatedly, and then I'll open it up to the audience. I want to ask you about the fish gutting scene too, because I think it has like a similar role as what the Game of Lies has in the film, but it has a different kind of like visual import. It is like more connected to like flesh and the body, which I thought was like kind of quite powerful. So I wonder if you can share more about that.
Yeah, so I wanted him to that he has to pass some tests in the film. It's kind of like it has this fairy tale quality to it. We have the hero coming back, and he has to pass 3 tests, and so yeah, I came up with these different tests he needs to go to, and they also need to be something obviously that connect him to the community, or that makes him part of the community. And the whole trial and the question of the memories go also back to a personal experience. Like I said, when I grew up and I internalized so much, and when I talked to family and friends from the past or about the past, they were often very surprised about what I was going through and what I struggled with as a kid. And then I realized that I didn't show it on the outside. And they would remember things often very differently than I. And this is how the trial came to be, and the memories in the trial came to be. And I was very interested in, okay, how far can I take this? How far can I go with it? If I think I was really bad at something and I hated to do something, and everyone else thinks, no, you were like really talented in it and you loved doing it. And so this is how far I went in the trial, and included it in this first test of the fish gutting.
You never had to gut a fish?
No. No.
Okay, we can take some questions. Yes, you right here in the center. And if you could just hold until a mic comes to you.
So thank you. This is a wonderful film. I was really taken. You do a great job with using the camera to really put us in Hein's perspective. We're often following him. We're very much sort of in his point of view throughout almost all the film. And so, given that the film is so much about lies and lying, I guess I was curious. How do you consider Hein as a point of view, as a narrator? Is he reliable? Is his memory actually sort of trustworthy? Because when people say like, "Oh no, actually, what happened to Albrecht? You did that." How true is that? Versus them just all kind of ganging up on him.
Yeah, so obviously it's open to interpretation in some ways, but no, he's not a trustworthy narrator in that sense that he just felt and believed things differently than they were perceived on the outside. So if you go with the objective truth, or if you ask the question, what is the objective truth in the end, and what is a true memory? Is it how I felt back then, or is it how others saw, or what others saw how I feel, how I felt? So yeah, it's a question. What is the objective truth here? But yeah, obviously in the end we find out that Hein was not a trustworthy narrator.
We can take you, and then we can work with this cluster here. Yeah.
Hi, so thank you so much for this theme. And I'm thinking how there's the scene with the funeral and also the scene with the courtroom. It reminds me of the book by Albert Camus, like The Stranger. And I'm thinking like if that like one of your inferences, and then what you think about that. And also how like in a lot of the scenes, especially the close-up scenes, there's a lot you can hear like the wind, and then like it's also like, and also like for example in a campfire scene you can see like it really like sparkles all over the place. And I'm wondering if it's intentional or is like a part of the environment.
If the wind was intentional?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was. So what I wanted is, I wanted the island to be a very hostile environment, I wanted it to be rough, and I wanted it to be not very welcoming. And so we shot it on 2 different islands in Germany, actually in September, October. And I was imagining like very moody weather, very dark clouds and stuff. And it was always sunny. Like the whole shooting, it was always just sunny. And I was like, I envisioned it so differently. But yeah, so we included the wind, and we did a lot in sound design actually to create this hostile environment. And then in the end, it had a positive aspect, because for the drone shots, you have like these crazy shadows, which give another quality actually to the drone shots. So in the end, it was beautiful for the film.
Could you share more about the music score of this film? And also, where is the island? It's really beautiful, and it blends with, it's part of the storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 2 different islands. They're called Sylt and Norderney. So in Sylt we shot everything that's taking place by the water, and in Norderney we did everything in the island, like the village and the court. And yeah, music was such a journey, and it's such an important aspect of the film. And I like to be very involved in the music, and so I worked with my composer Damian Scholl, who's just an amazing composer, and we worked on the music for a very long time, and finding the right way with it to also have this historic aspect or this period aspect, and a funny thing is, Heide, the sister, sings the song, and it's an old German folk song, and it actually has a different melody. She sings it differently than the melody actually is, which is beautifully, because she sings it a bit more sad, and it's beautifully, and it worked beautifully because we took it as one of the musical themes in the film. So this was like a great inspiration for the music.
Hello. Sorry. I'm curious to hear about the editing process, because something I really like about the film is that you can definitely see that you had like a very clear vision of what you wanted, but especially in the trial, you have those moments when you see the reactions and you see a sense of looseness of you're really with these people. So can you talk a little bit of how was the editing process, if something changed or it was very clear from the start, yeah, in this moment I want this shot, or doing even the production, there was like, oh, this is interesting. And also there are certain moments in the film that you use kind of still life, and you play around with the island to, show what is this world and involve the audience to where these characters are. If you can talk about that, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so about the courtroom and the reactions from people in the courtroom. Actually, it's kind of funny because we didn't have enough. We didn't have a lot of budget, so we were very constrained with budget all the time. And so this courtroom scenes, we didn't have all the actors there all the time, obviously. So we really had to split it, and some actors were just there for like one day of courtroom. So we just had to prepare very well to shoot their reactions, and then not have them there anymore for the rest of the court. So it was like this very fragmented shooting of the court, and that in the end it works so well, and you have the feeling that everyone is there all the time. It's because of a lot of preparation and a great shot list. And I had an amazing editor, Susanna Ocklitz. I worked with her on all my films, and she's a good friend of mine. And the editing process was such an important part, obviously, of the film. And it changed a bit from the script to the final film, in the sense that we have these different memories, right? We have Hein's memories outside the court. We have the court memories from the villagers, and we have Hein's memories in court. And in the script, it was actually, we were much more in Hein's memory in the court as well. So when he gives his testimony, we see the whole memory play out again. And we figured out in editing that this is actually not necessary, and it's also working much better to just have these flashes, because we already saw it in the memory of the villagers, and we just needed like these certain this short moments of the flashes of his memory, and it was much more impactful to stay with Hein in his testimony. So we edited quite a long time, and we figured out how best to deal with the memories, and also the connection from the here and now into his memories, when he's in the village.
I'm afraid we're out of time, but maybe we're out of time. Unfortunately, we have another screening starting, but we can maybe continue the conversation in the lobby.
Yes,
but
I would love to.
Hi, thank you so
Thank you so much.